What's up, Beer League hockey fans and fellow dumpers? Welcome to another Dump and Pound Sand. Sorry, not Pound Sand. Another Dump and Skate podcast. I'm the headbender, ball buster, Jeremy. I'll slow up traffic for Holland to catch up to me, aka that's what it's like skating with me, Abdu. And in this corner, weighing in at a projected increasingly 198 pounds, the man that makes this podcast possible, lead producer, Jacksonville team sand pounder, the guy with a face for podcasting and a body you definitely need to use a weed whacker to shave, but still want to oil up. Jeremy, I'm gonna jump out of nowhere and scare the shit out of you. Scare the shit out of you at 6 a.m. The White Ninja Holland. And we need to put a bell around your neck for Nashville because you came out of nowhere and I soiled myself. But seriously, I screwed up that intro. I'm sorry, guys. But seriously, thank you, Holland, for thank you for putting together a fun Jacksonville trip.
Is it my turn?
No, it's never your turn. Sorry, guys, I messed it up.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls of all shapes, sizes, and flavors? Welcome back to another very, very adventurous podcast. Dump and skate, dump and pound sand, whatever you want to call it, podcast. Happy to have you guys back and listening. We are back from the Jacksonville tourney. We are definitely coming off of the Jack's tourney high and are dealing with the consequences of being newly in their 40s and well established in their 40s and trying to play a tournament like we're still 16 years old. It was only 3 games, potentially 4 if we would have made it to the championship, but it was 4 would have been really tough. 3 was tough enough. So yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I know you were trying to lay out of the screenshot there and all, and I told you like, hey, if you're really loud in the mic, like this, this is how the sausage is made type conversation. But like, hey, we were talking about mic volume and things, and like, is it gonna like blow your eardrums when you hear it on the podcast?
Am I loud right now?
No, you were so quiet. You sounded like we were calling a like 900 number or something back in the day, like. Hey guys, welcome to the Dump and Pound Sand podcast.
Well, you told me I'm.
I know. I didn't expect you to go all lady of the night talk on us there.
I'll do it over again for the next one. I just want to let you know.
Just the same way. Do the intro for Corey that way.
Okay.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Should I add a list?
This is your nighttime radio host Jeremy Abdu coming to you with the smooth jams.
Dude, I'm like that because. No lie, I got home at 11 o'clock a.m. yesterday. I slept all day. No crap, all day. Woke up, had a little bit of food, and then fell back asleep. I watched part of the game. I got to see the game yesterday, the overtime. Text you guys while you were still in Jacksonville. Went back to bed around 8:30. Woke up around 6. I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. I need to go to the gym. Next thing I know, it's like 9 o'clock. Went out to breakfast with my mom, came back home, went right back to bed today. And then you called me. And that was what, like around 2 o'clock?
Yeah,
3 o'clock?
Like that.
Yeah,
2 or 3.
I am not going to survive Nashville. So, with that said, I'm not going. Sorry, Cooch, not going. I just need my sleep.
Sheesh, we already talked about that. If we have to come kidnap you and put you on the plane, you're going to Nashville. What plane? You're not going on the plane. We'll just kidnap you and put you in the car with me. Yeah,
the tournament was over. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. It was good just being with the hockey guys. I finally got to meet Peppers, and I'll tell you what, Barry's such a good.
There's no S. There's not multiples of them. There's one of them.
Well, there is more than one. His son, but I never got to meet his son. So okay, I met Peppers.
You would say I met the Peppers, not I met Peppers.
I met Barry. Or I could just say, hey, I met Barry's.
I met Barry's.
You know what? The situation from Jersey Shore always adds an S to stuff. So
perfect.
I met Barry, and it was cool to talk to him. He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy.
Yep. I heard you. I heard you networking, and you were talking about getting his kid on the podcast. What was that about?
I don't know if I want to ruin it, but he came up to me and said,
Well, don't ruin it.
okay.
We'll hold
He
it. If
came
it's
up to
that,
me.
I just thought I didn't hear the whole conversation. I was kind of
You
laughing.
didn't, and then you're just trying to call me out here. There's a whole build up to that, so I'll talk to you
That's
off
fine.
cam.
We'll talk about it.
Off
Yeah,
cam,
yeah, that's all good. It's good. No worries.
You got some color, my dude.
Yeah, that's what happens when
You
you sit
look
in the sun for 5 hours next to Latino Rob.
Well, I was thinking maybe like all that sun would have just gone right to the darker person. I didn't realize, or maybe it went off your forehead and shined onto Cooch.
That's exactly what I had. Cooch was sitting to my right, so I kept having to look to the left so I didn't burn his eyeballs. Oh man, yeah, that was a lot of fun yesterday. So yeah, no, we spent the day at the beach with Rob and his wife, and then Big John and his wife was there, and Dum Dum Corey was there with us for a little bit. He disappeared.
Not Corey Ward.
No, we'll clarify. Not Corey Ward. There was normal Corey and Dum Dum Corey, and so Dum Dum Corey was Dum Dum Corey for a reason. But yeah, now we spent the day at the beach. Brought the kids there, let them play with the Cooch kids, and so the Holland kids, the Cooch kids. Doug was there as well with his kids and his girlfriend. That's right. Sup, buddies? How's it going? So yeah, we had a good time. We had a good time. The kids had a blast, and we all got to kind of sit and hang out. It was normally we talked about this a little bit while we were at the beach, because Rob is a big like get the sun, soak up all the sun, like absorb all the sun, just all of it. And so Dum Dum Corey was nursing a pretty severe hangover and apparently sat in the sun for about 5 minutes and went back to the room to get waters, and apparently decided what get water meant was like sit down in the bathtub for an hour and a half and try to like, I don't know, draw the alcohol out of himself that way. But he showed back up 2 or 3 hours later with an umbrella and popped the umbrella open and sat underneath the umbrella with a shirt on and everything. It's like, why don't you just stay at the room? Like, why come back to the beach? But we were talking about how when we travel to the beach, we always go with a big tent. And so like if the sun gets a little hot, I'll just go sit under the tent. I told Rob point blank, I was like, I'll get out of the sun. I'll go sit under the tent and I'll fall asleep under the tent. Like, I don't care. So
I
the
feel
kids
like
had a
seeing
really
Rob.
time.
I feel like seeing Rob at the beach. You can just pitch a tent. That guy is just solid sex appeal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah.
Oh, you don't even know. I stumped you.
It's not stumping me. That's not how I would describe Rob. we got home and we were describing. So our dog sitter is really close. She's one of the kids that I used to teach in youth group, and she's like a extra kid in our house. So she looks at Sarah and I kind of like an extra mom and dad. She came over. We were talking a little bit, and we were just describing who all we were with and what we all done. And so of course we pulled up Facebook and showing people, and I pulled up a picture of Rob. I'm like, this is Rob, this is his wife and all. And she was like, wait, go back. And she was like, she goes, he looks like big. And I said, because he is big. And she was like, he looks like bodybuilder big. I was like, yeah, that's an accurate description. Rob is a lot of meat. And he looked like
the Brazilian steakhouse guys when they were playing. It's meat on meat. Let's talk about the tournament before I forget that.
So we'll go right into it. So we had a really good time at the tournament. This was I should have grabbed his last name. I don't know, but the guy's name is Sheldon. He runs the 24 hockey. They've got a couple of hashtags, different places. And so we want to plug those guys because we did have a good time. We had a lot of good conversations with him. Was a super nice guy. You and I all got to network with him a little bit about the podcast stuff. We also got to network a little bit of graphic design stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And so it was a lot of, I look totally shocked, kind of just brought up offhand that we do a podcast. He was like, hey, let me help you guys out. We'd love to kick some stuff to you guys for some giveaways. So if you guys are avid listeners, we're going to come up with a plan in the next couple of weeks, try to post some things, get some either likes, comments, subscriptions some way. And we're going to get with Sheldon, get him to send us a little bit of gear from their stuff, and probably do a couple of giveaways for some folks. So, but yeah, we want to plug those guys. It's 24 Hockey Wear. That's the number 24 Hockey and then WEAR. That's all their social medias, Instagram, Facebook. They have a Twitter as well, but I don't have it sitting right in front of me. But I imagine it's around the same thing. And I believe what they are, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct it later, but I believe they are primarily like a clothing and like gear company, and they're beginning to do things like put on tournaments. He said this is one of the first few tournaments they had done, I believe is what he told us over down there. So, but really, really nice guy. It was nice talking to him. When we got there, he knows a couple guys that play in Savannah because they had played in Jacksonville. He played them, or he played with them when they were coming down to Jacksonville before we had the rink in Savannah. So it's nice to have some common ground there. He knows, like I said, some guys that I'm super familiar with, a guy I played with for a pretty long time, actually. And then he was really, really receptive when we kind of came and said, hey, here's some thoughts and some ideas and things like that. He was like, yeah, I think those are great ideas. He was like, I really, really appreciate that. He's like, we want to do what makes the most, do what helps everybody stay involved in the tournaments and make some more popular and engaging and things like that. And so yeah, it was good talking to him. And so we told him we wanted to do a pod. We were definitely going to try to plug his stuff and he would help out. So big shout out to those guys. But so Sheldon with 24 Hockey put on the tournament. It was down in Jacksonville, a total of 6 teams. What we were thinking, and we did a whole podcast about beer league tourneys. We talked about the difference between draft tournaments and the bring your own team tournaments. And so this is purely a convo about what went down in Jacksonville, how all that went. So showed up, realized.
Did we show up?
I mean, we physically got there. We physically got there. I don't know, it's our equipment was there with us, and so it's still to be determined whether we actually went on the ice and played or not. I think we all realized pretty quickly that we brought some paper mache to a boulder fight, and it was we were severely outgunned based on what we had. And full disclosure, what this tournament was initially advertised and hoped to be was a tournament with 3 divisions, basically a full-blown open A division, anybody any age, 18 and over, sorry. An A-B tournament, so guys that didn't feel like they could pull enough A-League players to make a full-blown A-League team. And there was supposed to be like a B-C division. The BC division is kind of what we thought was going to be the best fit for us because we had a lot of guys that had played in our C league, but they were really more B league players. But not all the guys we brought were like the best B league player off of their team. There was some of that, but it was a lot of guys that were just middle of the road B league players. And so we really probably fit better with like a BC, even though we had Andy and I that play in our A league. Andy and I are middle of the road A-League guys in our A-League. So we're not standout all-stars or anything like that. And so we, both of us would readily admit that. And so we got there and realized pretty quickly that we were playing in pretty much like an A and B-League tournament. So there were multiple teams that we lined up against that had 5 and 6 A-League guys that were probably the best, 2 or 3 guys on their team. And they had, the teams we saw that we played against had probably 5 to 7 of those guys on every team. So we knew we were working at a little bit of a disadvantage there. We did see some teams that had some talent that was a little similar to us. Unfortunately, the one team we played that was like that was short when we played them. And so they ended up picking a couple of those AA players up. And so, again, it wasn't like a slaughter or anything, but we just never really could. Like I said, we just didn't have – we had the guns to run with some of those guys. And so we all knew that. And so I had told you all along, I told several other guys, like, look, we're going to go down. This is a good tune-up skate for us before we go to Nashville. I'm not expecting to go down there and win a bunch of stuff. I didn't expect to go lose every game either, but I wanted to go have fun. We rented a house. I brought my wife and kids so we could really have, like, it could be a vacation for my wife and kids as Memorial Day weekend. And so this was really a lot about, for me personally, like, hey, let's go skate. Let's gauge where we're at. Let's make sure that we're not, so far out of shape by the time that Jacksonville rolls, or by the time that Nashville rolls around. Yeah, that we're no good at Nashville.
It was good to just play after a month off. It was good just to smell the rink and just get. Well, the rink has its smell. And,
I mean, I would have never described it that way, but I'm not going to judge you if you do.
No, I mean, some people say, the smell of the rink, the sound of the Zamboni, everything like that. So, but that was honestly a really nice rink. You guys, we were told, or someone told me that rink is going to be identical to the one they're building up here. So that makes it exciting too. That restaurant was really cool with that big screen.
Yeah, that's the same. So the same group that owns that facility is who's building the facility here locally. So they should look a lot alike.
Really cool.
I think they're going to make some improvements to the one they're building in Port Wentworth area. They've just found some things that they don't like. I don't know what it is, but one of the rink manager there said they found some things they don't like, so they want to do some things a little different, a little better. So, yeah, it should be good. So,
So game one.
so we played the guys from Nashville, which was the tournament director Sheldon. It was his group of guys that traveled with him, and they were probably an even A-B team, but they had probably 5 guys on that team at least that were all A-level guys, probably a little more than that, honestly. But they were a very relaxed team. But we were, again, severely outgunned. We were very disjointed that game, like really, really disjointed. I mean, it was really obvious that none of us had really skated extensively together. There were 1 and 2 of us that played together and things like that. And so also had me playing D instead of playing up as a winger, which is what I wanted to do. And I've been playing D as an A-League player this past 2 seasons, but I'd rather go up and play as a forward. And so, given that Andy and I don't, there's people are gonna hear this podcast, but like Holland really thinks a lot of himself. That's not. This isn't. I was gonna say this isn't what I'm trying to say, but basically, Andy, I knew that if we were gonna get a lot of offensive movement, Andy and I were gonna have to drive some of that, and so. It was hard to do that back on D. It was hard to do that back on D. It wasn't that we didn't have other guys that couldn't shoot or anything like that. We had guys that could, but Andy and I were the guys that have played in an A-League before. We were the guys that knew the pace of play for A-League. We knew what it would look like. And we talked about it. We said that a lot of the guys that had played in C-League, Andrew Robertson, my brother Chris Holland, yourself, Rob Cooch, and Rob and I even talked about it on the beach yesterday. That whole first game, all of those guys that I just mentioned, not so much you, but definitely Chris. I think Doug struggled with a little bit of it too. That it was like, hey, we've always got all this space in C-League. And so, well, there's this space there because you've got guys that you can get around guys simply by starting off skating to the left and then turning and going to the right, and you've beaten the guy. And that disappears at this level. All these guys can turn and transition with you. So there is no easy space that you get. And so there was a lot of Andrew Robertson skating and hanging onto the puck. There was a lot of Chris skating and carrying the puck. There was a lot of that stuff that just wasn't going to fly.
Right. And that's something we talked about in the last podcast, where a lot of these guys are so used to playing C-League, and then you play in this. You can't do that. You might look up and see that you have some room to skate, but with the talent that we were playing against, there's no. Like I said, that's one of the reasons why I didn't play my normal style of C-League play, because I just knew that these guys were good. I mean, we just could tell these guys were good. And it was shout out to Kyler. Yeah. I mean, this tournament could have been a lot uglier if it wasn't for him. And he was playing injured too. So
yeah, we didn't look good, but Kyler made us look a little better than what we actually looked like, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, we lost to those boys from Nashville 4-0. That was kind of a kick in the pants, and we didn't feel competitive. I think that was what it made it feel a lot worse, because we were so disjointed. I think we settled down. I think a lot of guys learned their lesson in that first game, and so I thought we played probably our best game in that second game. We played better together. But we were playing an absolute unit of a team that apparently had put themselves together as an all A-League team. And the tournament director, to his credit, had said, hey, look, we don't have a pure A-League. You guys are going to have to split this team up. But talking with him after the tournament, he admitted, he was like, hey, they split the team, but they didn't really split it evenly. They probably kept 7 of their – we keep calling it A-League. I found out they call it their open league. They probably kept 7 to 8 of their open league players on that team of the total of 10. I mean, there was I think they had one guy. It was the guy that I think somebody said, I put a move on and he fell over. And so that was the only guy on their team. Was that you?
You broke ankles. That was so funny.
That was the only guy on their team that was like a B-level guy. Every single other guy on that roster was an open player, an A-level player. I mean, they were very, very good hockey players. But they had 2 really, really, to us, standout guys, and that's the guy. So this one guy comes walking in like a tank top and like gym shorts.
Yes.
And dude looks like Cooch, but shorter and not quite as tan. but he looked. I mean, he was bigger. He was bigger than Rob, right? I mean, he was more muscular than Rob.
So me being Asian, I'm just telling you, it was like Godzilla. He was like Godzilla. He was.
If you're going
I
to
made a
say that,
joke
you
like
have
his.
to say it the right way. You have to say Godzilla the correct way. You can't say it that
What's
way if you're going to use all of that.
what's the proper way?
I'm going to get in trouble for doing that, though. You have to say it. I can't say it.
I'm
This
not
is where we get in
saying it.
big trouble.
I'm not saying
Godzilla! Come on.
English isn't my first language. Anyways, this guy's calves were like, I made a joke, like it looked like he must have done 10 to 12 injections in each calf. Like he was just solid. And then he goes into the locker room, or he comes walking out of the locker room, and you go, the dude's not even wearing shoulder pads, and he looks just built.
Yeah, he looked as big as you with no shoulder pads. And I realized, I said, he's not wearing elbow pads, and his arms are bigger around than mine with my new, like, bulky elbow pads. It was like, this is, and then what was crazier was none of us recognized it because he was standing next to us outside of the rink before the game. And he was talking, like, he asked us a random question, like, any of you boys work for the railroad? And we're like, no, that's kind of random, but all right. And we were just kind of talking with the guy a little bit. And so he comes walking out, and we realize he's the guy that we all watched in the first game that we were like, that guy is nasty. Like there were two guys on this team that when we watched them in the first game, and we should have got their names so we could have given proper, credit and all. They play in the leagues in Jacksonville. But he wears red pants and a white helmet. Yeah. And his buddy was in gray sweatpants and a blue helmet. And I mean, these guys were stupid.
The Harlem Globetrotters of hockey.
Stupid good.
Even Ponton, before we got on the ice, said something about the dude's forearms, which I thought was like Ponton
said his forearms are like slabs of meat. I said, buddy's forearms have forearms. I mean, they were like two of my arms taped together. I mean, he was huge.
So Cooch plays,
and he lines up against me on the face-off. I was like, I'm out. I don't even want to be here next.
So
I'm 190 pounds if I'm lucky.
He did make you look smaller.
I looked 170 probably next to him.
Cooch plays defense, and Godzilla played forward. And he played forward, and this guy's just coming down like a Mack truck. And I made a comment. I'm like, it's a Brazilian steakhouse. It's meat on meat. It's a meat orgy. Cooch thought that was hilarious because it was just solid Cooch versus solid Godzilla. And then at the face-off circle, or I skated right by him or something. If you guys seen the movie Pain and Gain with Mark Wahlberg and The Rock, there's a scene in there where the guy goes, bro, how much protein do you eat in one day? So I skated up to him and go, dude, how much protein do you have in one day? I was trying to make a funny. Apparently
not funny.
It was not funny. And he literally Godzilla, and he wanted to eat me like every time. There was one time
he may have just been hungry. He may have just needed some calories mid-game.
At one time, I just saw him out there and go, Holland, you're out there. You're out there now. I want to go next to him.
Well, the funny thing was the whole game plan for that game was that Andy and I talked and said, look, if those two guys are on the ice, we need to do our best to try to shadow them.
Yes.
If we're not going to be able to score, because that was the game we talked about on the last podcast that we were concerned about. Hey, are we going to be able to score any goals? And I was adamant that I thought we'd be able to get a goal or two on them. And we did. We got a goal on them. And so, but
way to go, Brendan Robertson.
We
king of the poop in the locker room.
The game plan was for Andy and I to shadow the guys, and somehow Andy and I got split up, and so I ended up shadowing that guy, both of them. I'm sure if we ask Andy, Andy'd be like, "No, I was out there with them some," but it really felt like somehow Andy and I got split, and I ended up shadowing both of those guys the whole freaking game. And I was like, "This is like." That's what made me feel like, we've talked about the diet stuff and all, and we can talk about this another time and all, but I've talked with you since, and I'm like, hey, we've got to move forward in some things because I felt better. I wasn't tired skating, but I could tell like my legs didn't have the juice they needed. that meat freak, like he skated by me like I was standing still, and I was like,
so limber. You would think he'd be like
and
a
I was like, this is,
bodybuilder.
I was so angry because he was so big. I was like, this isn't right that he looks like a freaking steakhouse and he runs by me like I'm standing still and I'm exerting maximum effort to try to keep pace with him, and he's standing up, barely moving, like barely trying. I'm like, I hate everyone out here. I hate all of you so much right now for making me do this because I feel like such an inferior hockey player. I'm sure there's 100 reasons. Like, I'm sure there's a valid reason. Like, I'm just no good at hockey in reality. Like, that's probably what was really going on. And maybe that was just Jeremy coming to the realization that, like, hey, you're actually bad. Just stop trying. But like, it was,
yeah, the way he walked, you would think he would just be bulky and stocky. He walked like a legit bodybuilder, like just stocky, and you would think he wouldn't be so agile on the ice. But man, that guy had lateral movement, circular movement.
He undressed Cooch in the corner one time, just doing some quick back and forth with his hands, and I was like, I got your back, Cooch. I'm in the slot. You go get him.
Yeah, but
oh gosh,
man.
So yeah, no, it was
and
that
sweatpants. Sweatpants. You can make fun of him for wearing sweatpants, but he'll just make.
Well, there was a reason. Guys that come out there in sweatpants are going to be awful, or they're going to make you look like an idiot. And
Cal, I used to wear sweatpants up until last year. I never wore socks. I always wore sweatpants. Cal would bust my balls about it, but I'm dirt.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're an idiot. You're the idiot.
I'm disgusting bad.
There's two sides of it. You're an idiot. This other guy was ridiculously good, and so
that's a compliment.
That's right. Yeah, no, he was, and they stayed paired up most of the time, so they were just a problem to handle together. And again, it wasn't like they were the two biggest standouts on that team, but the rest of the team wasn't a bunch of slappies. The rest of those guys were good, and so yeah, that was just a brutal game.
And it's
weird
because,
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's weird because when I go out on the ice and I see old people, and I say old people, I mean people older than me, I'm thinking, all right, this will be decent. I can hang with like the older people, and the older people were like, man, they were sick good too. They were really good.
Yeah, their whole team was really good. It was really apparent. They had a guy that was playing that he was so the guys I grew up that coached me and everything like that. I mean, we've talked about this before, the era I grew up in, and that you grew up in an era just ahead of me. I mean, it was basically the same era. I was coming on the tail end of it, basically, where the clutch and grab and all the little carving your wrist and all the little tugs. And I mean, anytime you've played higher level hockey or you've played against guys that have played higher level hockey, there's all the little sneaky tricks they do. They want to get an inside angle on you, so they tug on your hips with their stick or whatever. They want to get you a little off. They just lean on you just a little bit or certain ways, or they spin your hips. Your cousin or your nephew talked about it too, about there's ways to play defense, control guys' hips and you control the guy kind of thing. So there was a guy that was out there playing with them. And like I said, they were very clearly a better team than we were. There was no way, but there was a guy that he pulled position on me a couple of times by either hooking me, not like in my stomach, but right on my hip and just tugging my hip. And again, he knew it just opened me up just enough that he could get a step on me. And another time, and this actually kind of pissed me off a little bit because I just don't like it, but he kind of poked me in the knee a little bit, and all he did was knock my edge off just enough so that he could get to the inside of me and get to the net ahead of me. It was our net. And so he wasn't doing anything. It wasn't dirty. He wasn't hooking me
it's an art
and dragging me down.
Almost.
100% an art form. And I can totally respect that and all. I got no problem with that. What pissed me off was, well, again, I don't care about the beer league. I'm good with it. But what pissed me off was it was really obvious that we weren't going to beat that team and we were going to struggle.
There's no need for it.
And I was like, that's what made me mad. I was like, come on, man. Like, I get it. Like, you can see there's only a handful of us on this team that can really run with all of your guys. There's not a bunch of us. And so he was very clearly only doing it to the guys that I feel like he knew, maybe this is just some assumptions, but he was doing it to the guys that he felt like, hey, these are the guys that could probably run with us. So these are the guys that I can get it.
Yes.
I'm not going to say something like that, but basically these are the guys that I know I can get away with it with. Like, these are the guys that'll, in other words, if he would have done that to Brendan Robertson, he would have put him on the ground.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know that he would have put you on the ground, but he would have put Brendan on the ground. Brendan would have just been off balance. He would put him on the ground. And it would have been, so for guys like us, it throws us off balance just for a split second. And that's all it's trying to do.
Well, you did it to your brother a few times.
He did it to my brother, and he kind of smirked at my brother, and my brother got really mad about it. And I was like, hey, it's just a salty vet move. It's not like a dirty thing. He's like, well,
No.
screw that. And I was like, I get it, but like, and like I said, I was irritated, but not to the level.
Again,
my
it's
brother
not
was.
dirty, but it's an art form,
Yeah,
and
but in that game, I
it's
was like, come on,
not
man.
necessary for a game like that.
Right.
So that was game 2.
Yeah. So then game 3, we get in
Is
the
game
locker
3 the
room.
poop game?
Go ahead, buddy. Game 3, we all get in the locker room.
We're all
Everybody in the
room.
entire locker room is what? At least bottom half dressed at this point.
Yeah, we're just because there was an hour and a half, 2 hours in between the games, so we sat
Yep.
at the restaurant. Which,
Yep.
damn it, Daddy, you paid for it, and I tried to give you money. Thank you again for that. That was, but that was fun too, just hanging out there.
Yep.
That was from the night before because we had the hamburgers and everything. So we're in the locker room, and I'm not a fan of this at all, ever. There's a bathroom in the locker room, and you said this, you like to be closest to the door. I love being closest to the door, but damn it, if that didn't bite me in the ass that time.
Because closest to the door meant closest to the bathroom in these locker
The
rooms.
bathroom was like literally not even 5 feet away.
Not even.
And I think I was always brought up, there's common courtesy. You don't drop it like it's hot in the locker room. If the
You don't do it. You don't do it on the tour buses. You don't do it on the travel buses. You
Nope.
don't do it on the RVs. Any kind of, you don't. I'm okay with you doing it on the plane because if it's a long flight and you got to get it out of there, like you got to get it out of there. There's nothing you can
Right.
do. But
Well,
like an RV or a tour bus, like you can pull over to hit a gas station or something.
Brendan kept on making comments like, "Man, I feel that burger coming out. Oh, I feel that burger coming out." And then, I don't know. I thought he went to go see how much time was left in the game. You and I are everyone's doing their own thing. And he goes to the bathroom, and damn it, son of a gun. He comes out, and this door is just, some doors have like
The closers
shut
on
really
them.
fast. Yeah, well, this guy comes walking out in his long hair and makes a huge announcement. Don't go in there for about 35, 40 minutes. And as he's saying it, you know how like if you wear like it just follows you like a smog, like, and it was like still embedded in his hair because he's got long hair, and it was
He was
still.
But I think he was fully dressed in his gear too.
Well,
So
it
what you're
seeped
probably
into his. It was seeped into his pants, and it didn't even. You guys, I'm not lying to you. Me and Holland, because Holland's sitting right next to me, we're like, dude, what the crap? Why would you? I even said,
Literally.
dude, I go, why would you do that in here? As I'm saying it, I'm getting tunnel vision because it's making me feel lightheaded. It was like, you know how people do smelling salt? It was like duty salt. It was duty. And I go, the bathroom is right. There's one right across the restaurant. Like, have some decency. Like,
You could have taken your skate
he crapped
off
out
and
Jimmy
walked.
Hoffa. We found Jimmy Hoffa. It just literally, it smelled like Jimmy Hoffa.
It was really bad. I mean, it was
unnecessary. It kind of peed me off. But
it was dead body.
that door couldn't
stink.
shut fast enough. And if it did shut fast, it would have just probably hit Corey, who was on
Killed.
the
It
other
would have
end.
killed. It would have
Corey was
killed
on the other
next
side of the
person that
rock.
Walked in. Oh gosh.
And it wasn't airtight because it just lingered. And Brendan, I'm not like dogging you, but dude,
Nah, you are, but it's okay.
If
Hey,
if
man.
it's that bad, like, you
here's
knew.
the deal, though. Here's why the dogging got cut short, because we were dogging him about dropping a massive turd in the bathroom and trying to kill us all with the fumes. And Kyler, who waited till basically the Zamboni was done cutting the ice to get dressed. I mean, the fastest dress. I'm not complaining. Fastest dressing goalie I've ever seen. And so he would wait until basically the Zam was like, "Hey, we're done cutting the ice. You guys can go ahead and start warming up." And Kyler's like, "I'm dressed. I'll start getting dressed now." And then he would still make it out there on the ice with 5 minutes left in the warm up or whatever. Kyler comes walking around the corner with a stick in his hand, and he goes, "Whose bullcrap tape job is this?" And it's Brendan's stick. And we all turn around and start laughing because it is one of the goofier tape jobs I've ever seen in my life. And I've asked him about it, and I've called him out about it. He's got his reasons, and he can explain them to you if you want to ask him about them, because I can't remember exactly what they are. But it is definitely one of the goofier ones. But he runs a strip of tape
on the heel.
Hang on. No. All right.
Explain
So
it because
I've
people
got-
don't know. Not everyone watches
Yeah.
the YouTube.
All right. So I've got my stick, one of my old sticks right here. All right. So my stick, I'll tape like a 2/3 tape job, right? Just like what you're seeing here.
From
And
toe
full
from
and
toe to mid.
I go toe towards heel. I watch Pepper tape his, Pepper tapes his heel to toe, and then cuts it off at the toe. I've seen both ways. I don't, whatever. This is the way I've always taped it. So what Brendan does is tapes a strip of tape running along the bottom of the
Toe to
stick. And he
heel.
does it. That's right, and he does it on the back as well. And then he takes like medical tape and tapes it around the toe.
Medical tape.
And then around the heel. And he says I can't remember. I thought he said
leaves
like to
the
conserve
whole middle
weight.
part of it open.
Yeah.
He leaves the
and
whole
so,
middle part.
And so what had happened and what made me laugh so hard was when Kyler came around, the tape that had laid like this, it was actually
on the curve. It was sticking.
It was actually released, and it was only stuck at the heel and the toe,
like a slingshot.
That's like a slingshot. And so Kyler brings it around. And it's like, whose bullcrap tape job is this? What the heck is this? It's falling apart. And so you and I start laughing about it because we knew whose it was immediately. And Brendan goes, that's a goal scoring tape job, in my opinion. I was like, God dang it. Come on. Like, no, Brendan, nobody says that. Nobody brags about getting the goals like that. Like, you can't do that. It's not. Oh, man. Guys that score goals don't say things like that. So, anyways, oh, gosh. And it was a truthful statement. Brendan was the only guy that had scored a goal in the tournament to that point. But, yeah, it was. And so
as the poo was still lingering. The poo was still lingering.
No. He scored the goal. Yeah. That was the deal. The poo vapors were still emanating through the entire room.
Honestly,
when Kyler, and so we stopped running our mouths about the poop and started laughing about the stick tape job.
I'm not saying this to be funny, but it's 48 hours since the poop. It's still in the locker room.
It's still burning.
It's
the poor kids that went in for their travel program skate today nearly died. Mom, what's in the bathroom?
Yes.
There's something in the bathroom. Oh,
like there's an investigating. They have yellow tape investigating, like caution. And something's wrong with this. And you would think, like, with something that tough of a smell, like, I'm surprised he didn't clog it. I'm surprised it didn't clog it.
Well, it makes you wonder. It makes you want to ask a question like, hey, man, how bad is the diet that this kind of aroma comes out of your backside?
Well,
like,
I mean,
it's got to be. And wait a minute, even better. We need to ask the guys in the house because they were in the duplex with Rob. Yeah. He wasn't staying with us. We need to ask the guys at the house. If we haven't thought, we'll have to ask Doug. He was over on Doug's side. We need to. Doug probably would. He'd be like, I don't know, man. Like, it was probably not that bad, man.
I don't know, man.
Doug wouldn't know.
Bro,
we'll have to. We need to message Pepper. We need to message Kyler. They should be. Well, I don't know. Kyler may not give us a good answer too. He hung out with Doug a fair amount this week. So, oh man. So, all right. Anyways, so on to the game. We'll talk about this for 45 minutes.
Game.
So we
3.
go out there. Yeah, game 3. And so it was a team that
we thought we could.
Some of us had. I was gonna say I'd watched them play a couple games, and I saw that they probably had a few more goal scorers than we thought they had, and they were also a little scrappier than I think we realized until we got out there with them. And so the team kind of went in, I think, thinking we were going to get after these guys a little bit. They got we gave up an ugly goal to them pretty quickly. And then, which was an error on our part. And then they had 2 good shots that just beat Kyler. I mean, they really did. They were 2 good shots. And then we finally got a goal. I think I passed it to Corey. I think Corey got the first goal, right? Yeah, Corey got the first goal.
Yeah.
And we I think it was like a 3-1, 4-1 game at that point. And I think we kind of thought like, all right, we're going to settle it. I mean, within 2 minutes, they scored again. And so when that happened, I was like, all right, so we're not going to be able to beat this team. Right. Like they had scored 4 or 5. We'd scored 1. And I was like, we don't have 6 goals in us. Like I just didn't see it. And again, I don't mean that disrespectfully towards our guys. We just didn't have the guns that other teams had. And so the game ended up finishing in a 7-3. But what was the most ridiculous part about the game was this was a local team to Jacksonville. So we kind of made some assumptions that a lot of these guys knew the referees.
Home team.
Yeah. And so they were a very scrappy team. they had picked up a couple of guys that were a couple of better guys off of one of the other teams. And there's a backstory to that. Sheldon, the guy running the tournament, was doing what he needed to do to make sure guys had players, to make sure that we had 6 teams, because nobody wants to come and do 5 teams. It's a weird dynamic. Teams would have been having to play multiple games, like back to back in little brackets. Yeah, and he didn't want to do that, and I can appreciate that. I'm not mad about that at all. Again, I didn't go down there chasing a necklace or a ring or whatever bull crap you get for winning a tournament. Like that wasn't what I was there for, and so I'm not mad that they picked up guys. I was like, hey, if you're going to pick up guys, like, why you got to pick up those 2 guys? Like, this was our kind of
again. It goes back to our sub podcast. Like,
yeah, it could go back to some of that.
You don't have to go back and get, especially with a team like that. You don't. I don't think
I don't. Again, to be fair to the team we played, I don't think they went and asked the best players, like, hey, do you 2 guys want to sub? It would have been nice if there would have been some understanding of like, hey, this team traveled from Savannah. This is a local Jacksonville team. We need to do whatever we can to make sure that this Jacksonville team and this Savannah team are standing on equal footing when they hit the ice. So whoever we put on their roster with them to finish out this last game with them, let's try to make it fair and even. And again, that's a lot of thinking going into the, a game that's happening, the next to last game of the round robin. So again, I'm not mad about it. It was a little frustrating to look over and see those guys. But I'm not mad. I'm not mad at those guys. I'm not irritated or anything like that. It set it up where I was already thinking like, hey, we may have a hard time with this team. When I saw those guys come out, I was like, yeah, we're definitely.
Yeah, well, it did get chippy. One of their players.
It did, but it wasn't the guys they picked up at all. The guys they picked up were not problems whatsoever. They did have an older guy that I don't know what. I don't know if he had sand in his jock or like his wife punched him in the junk before he left the house. I don't know what his problem was.
Are you assuming that he's married to a woman?
Or his husband punched him in the junk before he left the house. I don't know. Whatever his deal is. If his dog ate his shoes or tried to eat his helmet. For a beer league tournament where 2 teams are playing and neither one of us have any stake at making it into the final. If they lost the first game, they won the second game. Even if they won this, there were going to be 2 teams that won 3 games. Everybody knew that. And so matter of fact, it had been already decided the game before us. So
yeah,
we had no problems with any guy's attitudes the entire tournament. Like I said, the one guy kind of poked and pulled or whatever. That was no big deal. I'm not worried about that at all. It irritated Chris a little bit, but he settled down. It was fine. And so this guy, I mean, I can't repeat what he was saying because I don't talk like that. But basically early on, one of their guys took, and I thought it was him, took a bunch of whacks when Kyler, our goalie, had clearly covered the puck with his glove, like really, really, really obviously. And this guy took 5 or 6 extra whacks. I don't know, on top of Kyler's hand, but basically trying to jam the puck out from underneath Kyler.
Whistle blown
after
too.
This was the other issue I had. The referee would not blow the whistle, and that's where I got a little frustrated. Like, hey. And I even said something. So this guy started mouthing off a little bit. This guy that we had, he was wearing number 6, right? So we'll just call him number 6. This guy started mouthing off apparently to our guys when we said something to him. I didn't know that exactly, but things got a little heated pretty quickly because our guys were kind of like, what is going on here? Like, why is this guy taking whacks at our goalie? Referee, why are you not blowing the whistle? Why are we not now going and talking to this guy and saying, hey, relax. If the goalie's got it covered, let's not take 37 whacks on his hands. Like, that's not what we're doing here. There's no scouts in the crowd. Like, I don't know if you're counting your points and going home and telling your mom or your wife or your husband or whatever, like, hey, I scored 3 goals in this tournament. Look how awesome I am. Give me extra, oatmeal tomorrow morning for breakfast, like whatever. And so the guy that kind of was their leader, captain, whatever you want to call him, skated over to our bench shortly thereafter. And I think it was between periods because it was right at the tail end of a period. And I kind of mouthed off from the bench about like, hey, can we not take 100 whacks at the goalie? Like, that's not what we're here to do. And I think I had gotten on the ice and their captain kind of skated by me and he said, hey, look, he said, that's our bad. He said, I'll talk to him on the bench. I'll get him to calm down and I'll tell him to shut up. I'll just tell him to relax. And I said, please, like, we got to travel back to Savannah. I don't want my goalie traveling back with a broken finger here. Like, we're not doing that to you guys. We're not even trying to do that. That's not what we're here to do. And he said, I get it. I'll talk to my guys.
Yeah, that's so he goes in between periods, right? He's like, he came up to us and said, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, so this was like this was like between the first and second period, right? So we get into the third period, and no, it was in the second period. No, it was in the second period that we got into it with the guy again. So one of our guys got close to their goalie with a loose puck and reached out kind of with one hand on his stick, reaching for the puck. and the goalie covered the puck, and our guy just kind of stopped with his stick. Well, this guy comes in about the same time as the whistle and basically two-hand pops whoever it was on our team underneath like his cage. I forget who it was, but popped him right in the face. And
was that Andrew?
It may have been Andrew.
Yeah, because
but
it could have been beef with him.
Yeah, and so that was later. That was in the third period.
Okay,
he got in a little tussle with him,
yeah,
and so but I was on the ice for that, and I was like, yo, what is your problem, dude? Like, you're the one that went after our goalie, and now you're getting mad because our guy just gently reaches over to the goalie. Buddy spins around and looks at me and just starts F you, F you, F you, F you. I mean, just repeatedly, like he's got Tourette's and can't control it or something. And so I was like, yo, what is your problem, dude? Like, we're just trying to play and not kill each other. Like, we just want to have a good game here. F you, F you. I mean, like, it's like a wind-up toy that somebody wound up and just wouldn't shut up.
Ridiculous amount of F-bombs.
And he lines up to take the draw. And I mean, he's steady going. And I'm like, at some point you would hope that I'm not jawing or chirping. I'm just simply saying like, hey, dude, relax. Like, I don't know what your problem is, but please just calm down. And so I'm thinking like at some point the ref would be like, hey, buddy, you need to chill or you can get off the ice. The referees are just saying nothing, like absolutely nothing. Right. And so
they're homies.
At this point, I think everybody on our team, at least that was on the ice at that moment, and Chris was on the ice with me. I think everybody on the ice at that moment, everybody's temperature kind of raised a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know for me, I said, all right, if this guy basically does one more stupid thing, I'm going to find him on the ice with his head down. Like I'm done. I am not that guy, but I don't have a lot of patience for guys that act like complete a-holes. I just got no time for that. Like that's not what we're here for. And if the ref won't regulate it and your guys won't turn and look at you and be like, dude, relax. Like, these guys are not jerks. Clearly they're not coming after you. They weren't going after our goalie. Just calm down. I'll come regulate it for you. And if that means you and I get in a scrum, like, come on, bud. I got no problem with it whatsoever. We can both get kicked out of the game. And so Christopher ends up getting in it with one of their subs behind our net. And I looked at the ref and was like, dude, you need to call a penalty. Whether you call a penalty on us, whether you call a penalty on them, whether you call a penalty on both, just blow the whistle and shut this down because it is beginning to get out of control.
Right.
And so I went to their bench and said, hey, I'm going to talk to our guys. It needs to stop. I'll cut it out. I will tell my guys to get it under control 100%. Like, we do not need to do this. This is not what this is about. I apologized to their guy that Chris went after, and he said, I'm good. He said, as long as you're talking to your guys. Their captain turned and looked at me. He's like, you just let your guys know. I said, it's done. We are not a team that does that. Trust me, we will shut that down right now. They all said, I appreciate it. Mind you, the entire time, their little mouth is silent on the bench. He's not saying a word. So I head to our bench. I told all our guys very clearly, guys, I told you this was a chippy team. We are not going down this road. Shut it down. Do not whack. Do not hack. None of it. If you get beat, you get beat. Please, nothing stupid. To Chris's credit, he goes over and found the guy before the draw for the third period and tells the guy, hey, I'm sorry. I was frustrated. I never meant to whack you in the hand. The guy said, it's all good. I got pissed about you whacking me in the thumb. Appreciate you coming to me. Everything's good. Everything was good from there.
You think it's squashed then? You think it's squashed, right?
100%. Well, it is between that guy because that guy wasn't a problem. Well, I don't know, 5 minutes left in the game, and my mom punched me in the wiener before I left the house, guy. He's down at our net, and something happens between him and I think it was Chris. And he kind of got into it with Chris, and I don't know what happened, but Andrew must have done something to him because Andrew turned to skate away. The guy legit takes 3 strides, skates up behind, and punches Andrew in the back of the head, and then skates immediately around the ref and starts hiding behind the ref and looking backwards and smiling at Andrew.
Abdu ran his
so
mouth at
I
that
was
time,
getting off the ice at that time and didn't really see all of it fully, but noticed that he had kind of hit Andrew. So the referees blow the whistle, eject the guy from the game. And it's like, and then what made it worse was the clock just keeps running and running and running. And so I asked the ref, I was like, hey, I said, are you guys going to stop the clock? He ignored me. I asked the ref 4 times, hey, ref, the clock is running. Hey, ref. And I finally said, hey, man, I'm asking about the clock. He's like, it's run time. I said, but did you guys call a penalty? Because you guys had been stopping the clock to set the penalty clock. That's why I'm asking. He goes, oh, I don't know if we called a penalty. I said, then what are you doing on the ice here? You don't even know what you're doing.
And
so
Ponton even yelled,
on.
we drove 3 hours. We drove 3 hours. Stop the clock. Like, not like the clock was going to make a difference, but come on.
We weren't coming back, but like, at least do your freaking job, referee.
Yep.
Like, just do your job while you're on there. So it was a frustrating last game. It was, I would have been fine with all of that if that one moron would not have been on the rink. I don't care about if you let the clock run. None of that's really that big of a deal. It was just frustrating that you've got one idiot that kind of raises the tone for everybody, and that was just I mean, like, I was glad they booted him. I mean, that was the right call for him skating up and punching a guy in the back of the head. He needed to be tossed. So I was glad he got tossed. But that was a super frustrating way for us to end the tournament. I think we were frustrated because we thought we were going to, I think a lot of guys thought we were going to do better against that team. We got,
But you know what made it all better?
Yeah.
You know what made it
What's
all
that?
better? Santa Cooch.
Yeah. Dinner that night was really nice.
Thank you, Rob, so much. I really wanted to go to Hooters. I've been obsessing about Hooters since January. Tried to get the team to go out on Friday, go to Hooters, and I just wanted to hang out with everyone on Friday. So then, with the depressing losses and all the L's, Cooch got us what 600-700 filet mignons that are probably the size of the Sears Tower. I mean, Cooch just goes overboard, and that's just Cooch. He got filet mignon, salmon. I think I posted baked potatoes that pretty much put the state of Idaho out of business now. And
that was a lot.
I'm walking.
I didn't realize you could do baked potatoes. That was a lot of baked potatoes.
There a lot of baked. Well, and then I'm walking up the stairs and I hear, "Where's Abdu? Where's Abdu?" Cooch goes, "I got you a present." And I go, "What more can this guy get me?" He got me like hockey gear, helmet, and everything. He's like, "It'll be here in 17 minutes." And I'm thinking, all right, should I go brush my teeth? Should I go make sure my hair is okay? Like Desert Storm is yes, Desert Storm.
You were like, wait, what's her name?
Oh, and then he goes, "I ordered 100 Hooter wings." And I gave him the biggest hug, and I did not want to let go. That was so. And the weird thing is, all of that food was gone. It was
all of the way. No, some of the wings were left. I think
the honey wings were still there, but he also got pretzel. He got really soft, gooey pretzel bites because Ponton didn't cook them and he didn't put them in the oven. And then he got like the cheese curds, which were really good too.
They were, yeah.
So, Rob, that was probably one of the more fun parts of the weekend too. I had a lot of fun. I actually had a lot of fun with hanging out with everybody too. And I got to know
it was
some people that I normally
it was really good. We stayed obviously we stayed the extra day when a lot of you guys came back, and so we got to just kind of hang with Rob. And I told him that several times. Like, it's just really nice just being able to hang out with the guys and stuff like that. I mean, I traveled playing hockey for years and years and years as a middle school, high school kid, and then did it in college as well. And so it was always fun taking trips with the guys, and half the fun of the tournament. I mean, obviously you want to play well. And I wasn't thrilled with going down and just taking it in the kisser for 3 games in a row. That sucked. But at the same time, I mean, I'm 40 years old. Like I'm not there to impress anybody. I was
impressed. You impressed me.
I was disappointed with myself because I put the guys together, so I felt like I set us up for failure, and I was frustrated with my play because I felt like I should have played a little better to given that I'm the one that brought the team together. But at the end of the day, I wasn't super upset about, the outcome of the games. Like, I understood what was going on. I wish we could have won one for everybody. It obviously helps everybody's mood. But you get what you get with what you brought. So we got what we deserved based on the team we had there, which was 3 losses. So, but it was a lot of fun to be able to hang out with the guys off the ring. And that's a bunch of the stuff that I remember as a kid growing up, is hanging out. As a matter of fact, the Robertson boys, I played with Andrew a little bit. When we were younger, we would travel some together in the same hotels and things. And we actually started talking after the after our second game, we were talking a little about our old travel days when we were younger, and some of the guys we used to travel with, and some of the nonsense that we used to do in the hotels and stuff like that. And so there's no nonsense on this trip, but it was really good to hang out at the house. It was nice to be able to just hang out in the kitchen. We did big breakfast both days. It was a lot of fun waking up, eating breakfast with the guys, and like I said, just kind of hanging out, talking hockey, talking the games, and it's a lot of fun. And it was always nice to go have dinner with Cooch. Like I said, like you said, Rob always, there's 15 people that need to eat. So Rob's like, well, I got to plan to feed 40. And it's like, no, Rob, there's only 15 of us. We all don't eat like you do. So, but yeah, Rob makes sure that Rob makes sure that if you're there, you're not going to be hungry for sure. And I love him
Right.
for it. I'm
He's gonna make sure when you eat there, you're gonna have a big deuce to drop in the locker room the next day. It's just a Thanksgiving deuce.
Oh, Thanksgiving deuce. It has a name. Does that mean we need to call Brendan Thanksgiving now?
We got to get him a jersey, just number 2. That's his new number. It's his hockey number. He's number 2.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible. That's so
But
good.
again, Holland, thank you for putting that together. Thank you for letting me stay with you guys. And I finally got to meet your wife and your kids. So yeah, it was a good time. All bullshit aside, minus the outcome of the games, I had a good time for the most part.
Yeah, I think it was a good time. I was like, you're like, I think I had a good time for the most part. I was like, I had a pretty good time. I enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed hanging with the guys. This is normal stuff. You get frustrated with each other from time to time, especially on the ice. But that stuff goes away when you're off the ice and it settles down. Everybody's good. So we got to shoot a podcast over there. That was a lot of fun. Had Ponton, had Corey on. We're gonna have Corey on for one by himself. I think we're gonna have Ponton on for one by himself too. It's hard managing 4 guys talking, so we're gonna try to run some individuals. It's a little easier doing the 3-man podcast. So we'll have to get a little better before we venture back into the 4 side. But yeah. So this has been a little longer than we thought. I think we were thinking we'd shoot for 30 minutes, and here we are. We rolled almost an hour. So
hey, Corey, I called it. We're gonna do a podcast at 7.
Oh, what a jerk. So, all right, guys, we appreciate you listening. Stay tuned. We got more content coming for you, and be on the lookout for some of the giveaways coming again. Once again, big shout out to all the boys. Let's see if we can get them all here. Big shout out to all the boys that travel this weekend. We got Dougie, Corey, Pepper, Ponton, Andrew Robertson, Brendan Robertson, Kyler. We got Abdu. We got Holland. We got Chris. And no, of course, we can't forget Rob Gooch.
Oh, jeez.
So,
save the best
Rob,
for last. Save the best for last.
Big shout out to all you guys for traveling, giving up a weekend to go play a little bit of hockey and get your
and the families that came with.
Absolutely,
the kids,
big time.
And the wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, all shapes.
I didn't see those, but yeah, all shapes, sizes, and colors and flavors.
Corey could have gone as a boyfriend, ish.
So. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Bye.